I'm Jeff Fritz with SoundStage.com, and I'm joined today by Livio Cucuzza. He is the Chief Design Officer of McIntosh Group. Livio, how are you today?
I'm very good, Jeff. And you?
I'm doing terrific. I really appreciate you joining me today. I wanted to talk to you about something pretty special and pretty close to my heart in high-end audio, particularly since I own a Sonus Faber product. And let me just back up and just tell everybody, you're the Chief Design Officer for McIntosh Group, but your work for Sonus Faber in Italy is very well known, almost at the legendary status at this point, I think. And for some very specific reasons, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. The Sonus Faber products, they're made in Italy. The craftsmanship is unbelievable, and I wanted to find out today what accounts for that. So my first question for you is, what does made in Italy mean to Sonus Faber?
Thank you for the question. It's not a super easy question to answer because you know that being Italian it's something quite particular, and for who have been here, it's quite clear to understand that there is something in Italy that it's different in some ways. Our country is full of history and full of different histories, and so we are a little bit the fruit of all that kind of evolution in arts and different cultures combined together. So being Italian and doing products in Italy is something very particular and I think very unique. So we try to do our product in the classic Italian way to do products, classic Italian craftsmanship. And I think the big difference it's in the details. There is a way to treat the details here in Italy by our artisans that is it's really unique. And you probably know, owning a pair of Sonus Faber, that every little angle of the products we do, it's really well done, and you can really appreciate your product day by day, month by month, discovering all the little particulars that are doing our product special. And I think this is the secret. We are treating our product from any angle, from any little millimeters, material by material, using our experience in that way.
Yeah, owning a pair of Maxima Amateurs for several months now, I have to say exactly what you just described, the attention to detail. It's just unparalleled in the world of loudspeakers, particularly loudspeakers that are made from natural materials, like the Sonus Faber products. And on my pair of speakers, it's the solid walnut, it's the brass inlays, it's the marble bases, it's the materials you use for the drivers, all of that. It's amazing to me that you're able to attain the level of perfection with these natural materials in a product, in a fairly large product with lots of surface area and lots of joinery. It's unbelievable, and that's really where I want to go next. So what you touched on it as far as the made in Italy aspect, but what is it? Is it the processes? Is it the people? Do you have specific tools when you're manufacturing the Sonus Faber speakers? How do you get to the level of perfection that you guys are able to attain in your speakers?
First of all, I think it's a matter of people. The people that are working in the Sonus Faber headquarters are people who really loves the products that they are doing. I just received on Friday a copy of a written review from one of our production guy that received a pair Lumina for Christmas, and he write down all the comments about the experience he's having with the speaker. And I think this tell you a lot about our guys. We are not hiring just people to assemble our speakers in the best way possible. Our people are most of the time audio lovers, and they love the product that they are doing. And this is, I think, the biggest difference, the most important tool you can have, right? Because there are no toolings that can do that work better than a person. And this expertise, this love for our product, is translating in again a very particular attention to details, but also in a sort of sensitivity for what they are doing and what they are trying to assembly and manufacturing. You referred some minutes ago to the natural materials, and that's a very important concept for us. We believe that natural materials are translating in a more natural sound, in a more natural experience. But natural materials are not consistent, right? The beauty of natural materials is that any piece of wood, any piece of marble is different from the others. So the way how you can assemble all these different components together, it's something that just a person with a lot of expertise can do. So our wood maker, for example, is matching all the wood slots one to another, and there is not a written rule about that. It's just about his sensitivity, his expertise, his experience, to know which part of the wood is looking better when it's combined to another one. And so there are really no toolings to do that in a different way. Of course, we have a lot of audio tests at the end of the process to make sure that our products are completely compliant with what we designed. Our in-house testing is done 100%. So every Sonus Faber loudspeaker that leave our production company is 100% tested and precise and compliant with the reference. But again, I think the people who is assembling the speaker are really doing the difference in our company.
Well, and I had a feeling you were going to say that it's the people. And in a way, you just revealed the secret, but in another way, that's impossible for anyone else to replicate, right? If it were something that were automated, something that some specific tools or processes or just the way you go about building the speakers, if it could be replicated in another building in another country by other people. But that I think that really nails it with the Sonus Faber products. It's something that is very unique. I mean, I've reviewed hundreds of loudspeakers over the past 20 some years for SoundStage, and I just can't think of another product, particularly wood-based, a product made out of natural materials, in all of those years that's come in my experience, and that's been the equal of a Sonus Faber in terms of just the attention to detail and the perfection of the craftsmanship. If you haven't experienced it, just for our viewers and the SoundStage readers, if you haven't experienced it, you should. And then of course there's the sound, which is a whole nother thing. And of course I've written a lot of Sonus Faber reviews over the years and described the sound. Well, the next question that I have, Livio, you guys, particularly with the Luminas and the Olympicas, and you guys have a pretty full product line right now that seems to be growing. You guys are building lots of loudspeakers. how will you maintain, or how do you maintain that level of quality control when you're building more and more and the company seems to be growing? That has to be a challenge. How do you guys tackle that challenge?
So first of all, we 3 years ago we did a beautiful exercise inside the company to understand who we are, because when a company like Sonus Faber is growing, you have to consider that your connection with all the parts of the company is becoming more difficult, right? Because you have more people working on the product, you have more people working in the engineering, in the marketing. Every part of the company is growing right now, so it's was to us was really important to set a sort of reason why we are building our speaker in the way we are doing that. And that exercise created our new brand manifesto, which is really helpful for us to understand where we can go and how we have to manage our product to maintain our DNA solid, right? Because it's the most important part of our business. And so that established a sort of culture inside the company, which is I have to say very strong, because every people in the company know what are the rules and what are the ingredients of our DNA, and so uh, they are really happy to respect that idea, and to believe in that idea, and to create the products following that. And so this is the very first part in how we maintain our DNA stable, which is maybe the most important one. Then, of course, going in deep in every part of the product development, we have a lot of new rules and procedure to how to keep the product coherent and consistent. But again, I would reply to this question using basically the reply I said to you before. It's the people are doing the difference. And if you train the people in the right way, if you involve the people in the decision you are taking, they will do a better job, and they will respect the original idea and the DNA of the company. And it's pretty difficult to do that when you have a big number of people working with you, but it's something you have to do before you approach any new project, because this will help you in the development in any stage, to keep the people focused and to create a better product.
Well, and you guys have managed that, and I'm sure through the years, the coming years, it will continue to be a challenge. But the way that you describe involving the people in the project up front, so that they understand it and understand the expectations as they go into the production of those products, that makes perfect sense to me, as opposed to bringing those people in at the end and just saying build it, involving them up front. It's a very personal way, I think, for them to be invested in the product, just as much as you, as one of the designers, are invested in the product, and that makes sense. Well, the last question, Livio, and this is one I know this is a hard question. I've thought about this. In fact, I was talking to our publisher Doug Schneider the other day, and we were chatting about this, and it gave me the idea to ask you this question. And maybe you're positioned better than most to answer it, because Sonus Faber has created products through the years that have become classics. And I would like to think that the Maxima Amateurs that I have in my home right now, 10 years, 15 years from now, will probably people will look back on and say that's a classic Sonus Faber loudspeaker. It will retain its beauty and its sound and just the aesthetics of the product. So the question is, if Livio Cucuzza is going into Sonus Faber to design a new Sonus Faber speaker, and you want it to be a classic, something that 15 years from now will stand the test of time, what does it take to make a classic audio product, a classic Sonus Faber speaker?
So to reply to this question, I think we have to talk about two major points. One is, again, the DNA of the brand. The DNA of the brand is the most important thing you have to approach as a designer. And what I usually say about my job is that sometimes people believe that the designers are sort of artists, right? They do whatever they like, and they in their crazy way. But that's not true. Designers are not artists, and there is a big difference between the two. Because artists really can follow their imagination without any limit. Designers, on the opposite side, has to work with the limits. And without a limit, there is no work of industrial design. It's just a work of art. So in this case, the limit is the brand, and we have to interpret the brand as an actor, right? You have to interpret the brand like you are basically interpreting a person who has his own characteristics, his own belief, and you have to understand that first of all. So after that process of understanding the brand, which is the process we did also with other brands, because we worked with Audio Research, for example, or with McIntosh, you can actually create new products, because at that point you have the elements to understand how to make a Sonus Faber product or a McIntosh product in the most genuine way. Then, of course, we are dealing with products which have a very strong personality. In both of the cases, McIntosh and Sonus Faber, we are dealing with probably the most iconic brand of our industry, right? So there is a set of limits which is more let me say smallest than it normally is. Of course, you have to move in a perimeter where the brand is known, and you have to stay in that limit to don't create something that could be maybe cool but not aligned with the history. So what we do normally is we do researches. We open up our mind at the beginning of a process, creating a lot of mood boards and having a lot of inspiration from different kind of world, from the car design, from the architecture, from the boat design. We also analyze a lot the trends that we can see on the market, and then we do a step back, because to create a classic, you have to be again on that limit. You cannot be completely on the latest trend, because this will create a product that lasts for, I don't know, a couple of years, 3 years, 5 years, the life of the product, but not forever. A good example is the speaker you have at home. It's a speaker which is using the design elements that Franco Serblin created 40 years ago, but it's a speaker that Franco never did before. So it's perfectly in the style, let me say, in the mood of the original Sonus Faber, but it's a completely new loudspeaker. Sonus Faber never did before a two-way floor stand with that proportion, with that materials, with that shape. But if you look at the product, it looks exactly like an old Electa or an old Minima, because again, we understood which are the trends of the market. We understood which kind of elements we can use from the actual days. But then we did a step back and we reinterpreted. We put those elements in a set of elements which are the historic ones, the ones that made Sonus Faber great at the beginning. On the base of your speaker, there is, for example, a piece of marble, which is very different from the marble that Franco was used to use back in the days. He was using a white kind of stone that is pretty famous in this area of Italy. But for Maxima, since it's a 2021 product, we wanted to use a stone that is more aligned to the current trend. So that's the kind of trade-off we can do to make the product still actual, but without losing the classic appeal.
Well, the distinction that you make between the artist and the designer, I never really thought about it like that, and that's a fascinating distinction because it really makes me think that the designer's job is much more difficult in many ways than the artist, because you have to adhere to the DNA like you described, but you still have to come up with something that's imaginative and creative and beautiful. So you really have to do two things that could be diametrically opposed to each other in the same product. And then you have to do it over and over and over again as the product line grows. So
Yeah.
when you make that distinction, I think I have a new appreciation for your job title and the work that you do, Livio. That's a tough one. I could see another designer coming in and coming up with a cool product and it's made out of wood, but it looks nothing like a Sonus Faber, and that would just be a huge fail.
I believe that to do a good job in any um, in any way, in any kind of profession, you have to have a little bit of tension inside yourself. To really express your nature, you have to fight a little bit with yourself, and this is the reason why I believe that the work of being a designer, it's so motivating, because you have this tension between the two opposites, as you said. You have the rules and you have the creativity, and you have to balance those two forces. And when you find the right balance, normally it's you succeed.
Progress rarely comes through comfort. That's something that I adhere to, and that's a subject for another day. But well, Livio, thank you so much for joining me from Italy. That's a fascinating conversation, and I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the work that you do at Sonus Faber, and of course, I know that you guys probably have new products coming in 22, and we look forward to seeing the fruits of your labor and of that tension that's built up in your mind to satisfy all of these criteria that makes a Sonus Faber product great. So thank you so much again, Livio, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you to you, Jeff. It was a
Bye-bye.
pleasure.
Bye-bye.